To be.
And let me pause the. Hi everyone, this is Christopher Garcia. I'll be coordinating the webinar today. Welcome to the Introduction to New Mexico PTAC Services webinar. Our distinguished panelist is Therese Rivera. She's the New Mexico PTAC Statewide Program Manager. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some webinar ground rules with everybody. So could you raise your hand for me if you could see the slides and hear us all right? Good, okay. Our participants are pretty Zoom savvy here. Thank you guys. And then I raise my hand, I don't know how to lower my own hand. Okay, there we go. And then if you could put all your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. And just so I know the QA is working, can you Q&A us a hi, how are you? Oh, and thank you, Barry, you got your hand up there. Hi, Alyssa. Hello, Dexter. Perfect, our Q&A is working well. Let's see. Hi, Marcus. So our Q&A seems like it's working, so please save all your questions in the Q&A and I'll ask them at the end of the presentation. And if anything goes wrong during this presentation, like you can't hear us, we're on the wrong slide, would you raise your hand for us, please? And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Therese Rivera.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for attending our seminar this afternoon. We have historically kind of done these around 10 or 11. We kind of thought we'd give 3 o'clock a shot just because I know everyone's really busy in the morning. I myself have already driven to and from Albuquerque and back and spent several hours in my office this morning. So I know sometimes the mornings can get crazy. So thought we'd take a stab at an afternoon session. So welcome and thank you. My name is Therese Rivera. I'm the statewide program manager of PTAC. I'll go over what PTAC is about and our services that we provide. If I can advance my screen. See, Chris, I was saying it gets stuck. Oh, there we go. I'm just not hitting it hard enough. Sorry about that. Procurement Technical Assistance programs were authorized by Congress in 1985. It's a grant program that's funded by the Department of Defense, and it was established to expand the number of businesses capable of contracting with government entities. PTAPs are a nationwide network of procurement professionals who help businesses compete for and perform contracts with the Department of Defense, but not just the Department of Defense, even though the Department of Defense actually funds it. They do want PTACs across the country to help businesses get into just the contracting arena, just in any capacity. So federal agencies, other federal agencies, as well as state, local governments, and even with prime contractors. A lot of people, a lot of businesses that are interested in government contracting kind of get nervous about, what it's about and how difficult it may or may not be. You've heard nightmare stories about the tracking and, allocating costs and that kind of stuff. Some people forget that, educational institutions need landscaping, even like your local city, county businesses, buildings need maintenance, they need landscaping, they need cleaning, they need painting. So there are all sorts of services that government agencies procure on a day-to-day basis. So I know you guys have all heard in the news about the bipartisan infrastructure, and there's been a lot of emphasis on the infrastructure funding. Bipartisan infrastructure law is set to invest 1.2 trillion, trillion with the T, not a B, into infrastructure. And then they've updated some spending guidance from the Biden administration. I'm on a presentation, so Biden administration, so that more of the funding can go to producers of American-made products. So not only, so these are, really wonderful changes, but even before that, the government is the biggest spender. So we've spent, they averaged more than $600 billion in public procurement spending annually. That's even before the infrastructure bill and the changes, the most recent changes. So my point is that for small businesses, this is a moneymaker. If you get a contract, it could make, it's a huge revenue stream for a business. So that's why we're in business, why PTAC is in existence, to help businesses go through that process. So for New Mexico, our PTAC, we were established in 2009, a little bit late to the game, since it was established in '85. But our mission is to counsel, train, and assist New Mexico businesses to obtain government contracts, as I said. But we want to help the local economy. We advance economic growth in New Mexico if a company gets a contract and they have to, add employees. So it's a win-win, not just for the business, but for the state economy, bring outside dollars into the state, even though it is government funding. But the company usually has to ramp up in order to do that, be able to make sure that they can meet the needs of that contract. So we are funded by, as I mentioned, the Department of Defense. It is their business to make sure that the warfighters really are have all of their goods and services for the Army, National Guard, Navy, Marine Corps, the whole, the DLA, the Defense Logistics Agency supplies all of the supplies to the whole entire military. So that's where we're funded through under the Department of Defense. And then it's a state general fund match. As many of you know, you apply for a grant, you need a state match. So, and we're administered by the Santa Fe Community College. Santa Fe Community College is our host institution. We apply for the funding, and the funding is, flowed through the Santa Fe Community College. So I personally am an employee of the Santa Fe Community College, as are all my staff. We're a statewide program. Some of the other PTAPs around the country, our city, they cover a city like the city of Houston has its own, Austin, some, obviously Texas is huge. So they have several PTAPs in their state. Some are regional. We are a statewide office, statewide center. I am housed at Santa Fe Community College, but I have offices all over the state. Albuquerque, we have 2 advisors at CNN Workforce Training Center, and we have our administrative assistant, Tracy. Alethea McInerney is one of the advisors at CNN, as well as Steve Hogan. We've got an office at the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce. Steve Stewart is located there. We have we have a vacancy if anyone's looking for a job that has government contracting experience. We have a vacancy for our Santa Fe, Northern New Mexico area. And then we've got an advisor, Karen Medina, in Las Cruces, as well as Johnny Ludwig in Clovis. So we're all over the state, and we're still doing, somewhat of a remote hybrid kind of environment. We're getting out and about more. Like I said, I was at an event in Albuquerque. Some of my advisors are starting to do office hours, or just go to the office, every other day, but you can make an appointment with them. And if the company still prefers a virtual counseling session, we're happy to do that. We're happy to just meet the customer's needs, whatever they would like of us. So that'll work out. So we are willing to travel as well. We've had events or appointments, one-on-one counseling sessions up in Farmington, up in Gallup, all over the state, Socorro, and we split up our time, however, accordingly, wherever the demand is. So this is the roadmap of our services. So, our step, we 5-part step, we discuss the client's goals. We really want to find out whether or not the company is government contracting ready. Where are they? How, what is their capacity for, if they do land a contract that is $3 million, do they have the capacity to meet that? Do they have their systems in place, their accounting, their tracking, the number of employees to meet the needs of that contract? So, we just want to discuss their goals. And then we explain the PTAC services, and then we go through the process of ensuring that the company has their UEI that used to be a DUNS number, that you now need a unique identifier number. And then we research NAICS we find out if you have a NAICS number, and we research which is the best NAICS for you. Because when the federal government is looking for businesses that are available to contract with them, they will do a NAICS search. And then if your business happens to have a good explanation of your business and that contractor finds you through the NAICS search, then that's a good thing, that's a good match. We make sure that you're registered in the SAM, the System Award Management, which is it's going through some transitions. And as you probably know, in any federal government or any even state government, local government goes through any kind of like system type transition, it's kind of a headache. So we've gotten a lot of calls lately about renewing their SAM, and it has to be renewed every year as well. So, or if you have never gotten a SAM, gotten into the SAM system, it's a little clunky right now. So we're getting a lot of calls and guiding a lot of businesses through that process. We determine whether or not you're eligible for some of the set-asides, federal certifications, small business, women-owned business, veteran owned business. So we make sure that you have your certifications that are necessary, not necessary, but if you want them, and they definitely benefit you. So it's good to make sure that you have those certifications. We do market research. We determine like what agency is buying your product. If you have a widget and you're selling it, you want to find out, what agencies buys it, how much do they spend, where are they located, where do they buy from, where do you have to ship to, how many of them do you need, how many of them do they sell, when is their next round of issuance for their bidding. So, we can do a lot of research for you on that. And then we go on to the next steps. And then we also have a lot of training sessions. And I'll go through all of our sessions and of our events that we hold annually as well. On the right-hand side, you can see the steps 1 through 5, counseling, like I said, contract administration, market research, ID and qualification for, certain set aside opportunities, networking and matchmaking events. And then we can walk you through the solicitation and proposal. We can even review your proposal, make sure that all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed before you hit upload, because there are some contracting officers that if you even submit your proposal 1 minute after the deadline, you're out. Or if you forgot a certain specification that they wanted you to explain, they will not even consider you. So, we can review that with you, make sure you're ready to go. So again, our services are really, really in depth, and they cover pretty much A through Z of government contracting. We've even, we can't get on behalf of you and do any kind of dispute stuff, but we can at least talk to you about it and advise you about it. We just can't intervene for you. We can't call a contracting officer and talk to them on your behalf. But anyway, it's really just the whole gamut of government contracting. So again, I'll kind of, talk about a little bit more about our services, just a little bit of a duplication, but, we really talk about your suitability for contracting, securing the registrations, as I mentioned, system for award management. The other thing though, is that not just the system for award management that I've beat the dead horse on, but every single institution has its own vendor database. Even UNM has one, City of Albuquerque and the City of Rio Rancho both have one, and they've just gone to this new system over the last 2 or 3 years. So we're familiar with that. We can help you with that. LANL has something called an Ariba system. GSD has a system, the State of New Mexico General Services Department. The disadvantaged business enterprise through the New Mexico Department of Transportation has a different process. So we pride ourselves in that we're partners with all of these entities and agencies. I was just on a Department of Transportation opportunity fair last week. And then so anyway, we pride ourselves in knowing like all the systems that our agencies utilize for procuring services. So we can walk you through those as well. Because again, you may not want to do a federal contract. You may just want to do a state one, but we can assist you with that. The other things that are, as I mentioned, the certifications 8A, Women-Owned Small Business, Hub Zone, Mentor Protege, and other certifications, even the Veterans Administration verification process as well, and that's changing. So as did the 8A process is recently changing as well, and that's a little bit of an arduous process, but we can assist you with that. You've heard a lot about hacking and getting hacked, government agencies getting hacked. So there's a huge emphasis on cybersecurity. The Department of Defense, Department of Energy, you cannot even contract with them unless you've gone through a process, and it's 101 steps. They're baby steps though, but not to scare you away, but it's really, really important. Not only to, contract with the government, but anytime you go, as a customer, as a consumer, you go to the, any store and you give them your credit card and you put it in their little square system. You want to make sure that your stuff is secure for as a consumer, but you also want to make sure as a business owner that you're securing the information from the people that are using your system. So anytime a business gets hacked, even if they're a private entity, selling to other private customers, they don't want to get hacked. The average, I think Chris might know this better, the average business that gets hacked, they don't stay in business. I think they don't stay in business. I think there's half of them go out of business if they get hacked. So we talk a lot about in that cybersecurity training class about having backups and having secure systems. Like, if you have a secure system, especially if you're a contractor for the Department of Defense, and if you're dealing with really secure information, that you do not hand your laptop over to your kid who's playing and downloading videos and things like that, because you can get hacked and you're really putting the government in danger, really. And there was a story about a government contractor that was an HVAC contractor, and the hackers know how to infiltrate systems. They got infiltrated, and they were a government contractor. So that's kind of what started all this into place. So they can get in through any subcontractor, contractor, subcontractor, they can get through and infiltrate their systems, even through their invoicing. Fake an invoice and send it to that person, and that person opens it up, and next you have a what are they called? A virus, sorry. So anyways, it's really, really been emphasized a lot. So we have a training course on that. And Alethea is kind of specializing on that, and she keeps up with all the updates. There's a lot of updates and changes coming down from the federal government and things that are requirements now and taken very seriously. So then we do classes on marketing to the government. And then we have networking events. We have a government to business. We call it a G2B outreach. We have 3 a year. One focuses on federal government. So we'll invite, the big players will invite Sandia, Lanel, WIP, Kirtland Air Force Base, Cannon, White Sands Missile Range, what have you. And then we'll have another one that focuses only on state, federal, so cities, counties, state of New Mexico government. And then we started one last year, and we focus on educational institutions. So we invite the UNM, NMSU, Western, Northern. So all the educational institutions, even Albuquerque Public Schools, and they're a big buyer as well. So again, you don't think about that of all the entities that buy from consumers. So as I mentioned before, we do market research, which agencies are buying, what you are selling, when are they buying next, when are they going to open bids, and then we can help identify bid opportunities. As I mentioned, proposal preparation and review, and contract performance issues, and preparing for your audit. We even have classes on pricing, Department of Labor, or labor issues, covering, what Davis-Bacon, things of that nature. If you're construction. So some of the trainings, as I mentioned, introduction to government contract. If you just want to kind of just go through the basics, of government contracting, federal certification workshop, marketing to the government, cybersecurity, and then we have a 5-part series called Contract Ready. It covers the whole gamut: understanding solicitation, proposal writing, labor law compliance, estimating and pricing, contract administration, and then you just make sure that you're contract ready, covering the whole gamut. So upcoming events, we're really busy. Our staff, our tiny staff of 7, including me. We have Steve Hogan, he's at the Southwest Defense Contracting Summit this week representing PTAC. We are attending, we also attend, some other events. We're attending the ETBA's annual New Mexico Federal Business Opportunities Forum next week. That's environment, technology, I forget the acronym, Business Association, environment, technology, I forget, sorry about that. That's a long one. And then in May 2nd through the 5th, National Business Week, we're doing a seminar on marketing to the government on May 10th, and that's alongside with West. We have our VA federal matchmaking event on the 11th, doing a series or an event doing business with Cannon Air Force Base on the 18th, and then we're having a cybersecurity session on the 24th. June, intro to government contracting again, government to business outreach. That's our G2B event. That's the state and local one, and that's going to be in person on June 8th. Yay, back in person. 16th, marketing to the government. The 23rd, intro to government contracting. We're doing that with Chris Garcia at Los Lunas SBDC. Thank you, Chris. In July, we're doing another cybersecurity and government to business outreach. This one's July 27th, right before school. And that's educational institutions. And that's another one that's in person. And then in August, we're doing our Contract Ready series. We break that up. We do parts 1 and 2, 1 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. And then on the 9th, we do parts 3 and 4. And then on the 23rd, we do part 5. So in some cases, we have clients that don't go to all 5. We can have people that we have them the separate registration. So if you only want to do part 3, you can register for part 3 and skip the other ones. But we do encourage you to go through all of them. Some of our clients just want like a little bit of refresher on each of these different topics, so they don't have to attend all of them. But it is really good if you're new to government contracting, you hit all of them. And then we're doing PACA briefing for industry the 15th to the 18th. And that's the professional aviation certified association. Sorry, I'm bad at these acronyms. But all of our events are on our website, and you can sign up and register through them. And then the page cut off, so I didn't go through September, October, November, but we usually have our G2B for the federal government in November. So we'll have that one then. Our statistics, each grant, you have your things that you have to track and your mandates. We had, and our program year starts April 1st through March 30th, which is really weird. Most like state agencies are July 1st through June 30th. Federal government is October through September. For some reason, our PTAC is April 1st through March 30th. So we're brand new into our first month of our first of our quarter of our year kicking off. But last year we ended with 337 new clients, which that we're mandated to actually have 420, but I think that because of COVID and because everything's been shut down, we just haven't had a chance to hand out business cards and hand out, go to events where we have a table where people can come up and ask us for, for information and things like that. I think our numbers, kind of dipped a little bit just because people just weren't out. That whole face-to-face thing just kind of, people just got tired of, I think, the, listening to virtual events and stuff, but they are easier to get to, that's for sure. I'll give a shout out for virtual for that. We have 575, so we ended with 578 active clients. And then we had 2,100 counseling hours. That's one-on-one, either, on a Zoom or sitting next to your client, really going through, you know, the whole counseling process, as I mentioned. And then each year we're mandated to do 80 participated events, and we had 83. So we're doing like 6 or 7 events a year, a month, plus, you know, all the one-on-one counseling that we do as well. So I do give a shout out to the PTAC staff. They do a great job. And a lot of these these events, you know, they take a lot of prep time, and even meeting with the counseling, you know, a client going through counseling, you know, you have to like research, you know, their background, what their businesses. You go through, you want to be prepared when a client comes to sit next to you for counseling. So they do a lot of research on the business and their NAICS code, or if they have a NAICS code yet, or what kind of NAICS code they should fall into and things. So it is a lot of prep. It is a lot of work, and government contracting isn't the easiest thing. So it is time consuming for my staff to meet with you, but they definitely will spend a lot of time. So we count all our hours. And then I think that is it. That is me, Therese Rivera, at the community college, my contact information, my email, and then to register for our events and just look at our, you know, general information on our website is nmptac.org. I think that is all I have.
Thank you, Therese. Let's open it up for questions. You could type those into the Q&A, or since we have an intimate group today, you could raise your hand and I could open up your mic to ask a question. I'm going to chat out the presentation slides to everybody. So let me find those and I'll chat them out.
Sorry, this was my first cup of coffee today. I was starting to get a headache.
Okay, everybody on the call right now should have received the presentation in the chat. And don't all raise your hand at one time now to ask a question or put it into the Q&A.
It could be that I just covered everything so well that there are no questions. But I mean, the if you get into like one of our classes on intro to government contracting, it's like a slide. The slide deck is like 50. I want to say like 52 slides or something like that. So they really do go in depth. They will go through. Oh, I was going to say about our G2B events. There is what we do leading up to our G2B events. We figure out who the speakers are going to be. So say it's the Department of Interior. What we will do before the event, like a week before the event, we'll allow counseling sessions to meet with our counselors because they want to go through all the agencies that are going to be at that event. So they will pull up their websites. They will walk you through how to find where they're posting their bids. We will look at their, walk you through how to find what they're buying, just so that what we want you to do is be prepared when you go meet with them in person. And at our G2B events, we hold them like speed dating rounds. So in the morning, you go there and you sign up for a slot. You want to meet with the Department of Energy, you want to meet with LANL, you want to meet with NASA, you want to meet with all the agencies that are going to be there. But so you get there early, you sign up for your slot, and then you have 10 minutes to go meet with them one-on-one. So we want to make sure that you're prepared. We will work with you to make sure that, you know, you don't just show up cold and, you know, like it's almost like, you know, a job interview. You want to have your resume, you want to have your business cards, you want to have everything polished, and you want to be there, and you know, you want to be able to not waste your 10 minutes of time in front of them. So we want to make sure that you're prepared, you know where to find their information, you know what you don't want to show up there and say, hi, what are you buying? Because they want you to, you know, they want you to have some, or you're better off if you already know what they're buying and you can talk to them about your actual product and say, hi, I'm here, this is about my product, you know, when can I get a contract from you? So we do offer that as well. It's really more in-depth training on those specific agencies that are going to be coming to our event the following week. And then they'll kick it off with, you know, kind of saying who they are, what they do, what they're buying, and they'll give a little overview of their upcoming forecasts of what their pipeline of what they're going to be buying in the next year. And by the way, like right now, there's the state of New Mexico, in fact, got, what was it? 3.5 $385 million in infrastructure funds. So, I mean, right now, if you're interested in government contracting, you really, really need to be getting prepared, because all that money has already come out from state of New Mexico, from the legislature to every municipality and county. So now the municipalities and counties are going to start doling that money out. They're going to be looking for contractors to redo their benches, to paint their buildings, to landscape, to, you know, lay concrete, pavement, redo their sidewalks, you know, all of the stuff that they've been, you know, letting dilapidate over the years. Now there's new fresh money for all of those new fresh infrastructure projects. So you got to be prepared, and be, you know, we'll show you how to look for, where to look for when those bids are coming out, depending on, you know, where you live, or if you want to, you know, bid on a local contract. If you're now, like, look at Ruidoso. Ruidoso is going to have to do a lot of rebuilding, you know, landscaping, seeding, and, you know, all of that stuff. So if you're in the, you know, fire prevention business, that's a good good contract to get into. So
perfect. We have a few questions. First is Alyssa, and then I'll get to you, Barry, and then we'll get to Dexter. Alyssa asks, what is the best sequence to learn in?
Probably, if you've never done government contracting, I would say to attend our next series on Introduction to Government Contracting, because it will, you know, it's really in depth, and we do talk about, you know, like, you know, where are you, how suitable are you, and, you know, maybe if you're not in the federal arena, then you could look at local, state, or local. You know, we also want to know, like, have you ever done business with even the private sector before? Who do you sell to now? You know, so those are the kinds of things that introduction to government contracting will really kind of make you think about. And then again, goes through the SAM registration, the certifications, but really in a lot more depth than I would. So that would be my first step.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too.
And then I'm not sure who was it that asked the question. If you have a SAM if your business is registered in SAM yet, but if you're a business owner, if you're already an established business, if you're not an established business, then I would refer you to Christopher Garcia, the master, you know, Small Business Development Center counselor, advisor on how to establish your business. Make sure that you have a CRS one, because you can't even get into the system of award management, the federal contracting system, if you don't have your basic CRS, you know, federal, if you're not established as a business, as a sole proprietor and all that kind of stuff. So Chris can walk you through all that stuff. And then, you know, what, you know, your marketing plan and all that kind of stuff, we rely on the small business development centers to help us, to help businesses on that side. And then once you get kind of beyond that, then you can come to us for in-depth help about contracting.
Perfect. Thank you for sending it my way. Let's see. Barry has his
very good
hand.
Partner.
Barry has his hand up, so I'm gonna
sure.
allow him to speak if I'm able to. Okay, Barry, you're allowed to speak. You just have to unmute yourself.
Hey, Barry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to get my certifications, and are your intro classes on the website, on your website, or how do I register for the intro classes to procurement?
Yeah, you can go into our website and register.
I'll chat out the link.
Yeah. Okay, and so you'll send the link?
Yeah, it should be. It's in the chat right now.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, just go to our website and look under events.
Events?
I think our events, the one, let me double check the next, then I think, Chris, we're doing one with your SBDC, right?
Is it in June? I think it's in June.
I had it up a minute ago. Yeah, it's June 23rd. So the way you register for the class today,
okay.
This very webinar that we're on today, you can register the same way, because we're co-hosting with the Las Lunas SBDC for the Intro to Government Contracting June 23rd.
June 23rd. Okay, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Barry. Dexter asks, is Kirtland Air Force Base open for business with small business?
Yes, they definitely are. We have a good partnership with them. We are doing something with them as well. Let me see when that is. Or is that with the VA? I guess I thought we had a session with them, but we don't. They are, but again, it's like we can help you figure out how to get in.
I think the session was February.
Oh, okay. You're right. I think Steve Hogan did that. You're right. Yeah, we can help you if you set up a one-on-one counseling session. We can figure out what what Kirtland may or may not be buying and what they're interested in. What do you have? What is your business? What would you sell to them, or what service would you sell to them? And we can help you, navigate how to sell to them and how to get a contract with them. And we can't promise, we don't promise that any business is going to get a contract. We can get you as close as you. I can never promise that I help somebody get a job because I help them with their resume, but we can, get you to the right people at Kirtland Air Force Base and get you, so that you're familiar with the lingo as well, that they can recognize what you're selling, and you can recognize, and figure out how to get bids from them. But yes, they are open for business.
Perfect, thank you. And then Dexter, you had your hand up. I'm going to allow you to speak. You're on mute, but if you unmute, you're allowed to speak, I believe.
The question was regarding Kirtland. Do we make an appointment to see business personnel there, or how do we get in front of them? Because I'm not only looking to sell, I'm also looking to see what they're,
Looking to buy.
Yes.
Yeah, I would make an appointment with one of my counselors at PTAC, and they can walk you through that process.
Okay, that's likely to be Steve Hogan. I've been working with Steve, yes.
Oh, you've been working with Steve Hogan? Okay, great. Yeah, he can help you out and walk you through that process.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else want to speak? Raise your hand, or you could put your question into Q&A and I'll ask it for you. Somebody had their hand up earlier. Was it Marcus, maybe? Marcus, if you had a question and you want to speak, you go right ahead. Just unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my question was really, I think you may have answered it. I'll probably talk to Steve Hogan, but so I supply crew for vessels, like deckhands, engineers, boat captains, things like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in a landlocked state. But
that's awesome.
It's really all remote. So so I'm just trying to find my target, like you mentioned, who are your targets? And that's what I was wondering. I guess I would just go to Steve and say, that's what I'm trying to find out is, where are my targets?
Well, do you do business with the Navy right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with other companies that have DoD contracts. Oh,
gotcha. I would say the Navy or the Coast Guard would be good, but yeah, Steve can research the buying activity for the Navy and the Coast Guard.
Okay, yeah, I guess that would basically be it.
Mm-hmm. Even I'm trying to think of another agency that would buy, but we do a lot of research to see who buys. You can do a whole research on your NAICS code.
Yeah, and there's things that. Yeah, I guess that code would probably be it. But there's with infrastructure, there's rebuilding bridges, and you know, around all the coast of the entire United States, rebuilding bridges. You're going to need vessels for that. Dredging for the beaches, you need vessels for that, and inland rivers, you also need it. So I was just wondering if there was
the Department of Interior, even perhaps.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'll just carry on the conversation with Steve and see what we can find.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's a great resource. Absolutely.
Thank you for that. I was barely able to do the little rowboat at Disneyland, so I don't know if I should be good for that. So if you want to raise your hand, you go ahead. I'll allow you to speak. If you want to put your question in the Q&A, we'll stick around for a few more minutes.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Otherwise, I like to fill the air with. I'll start to sing. You don't want that. Just kidding.